You get Mom today, too. Hello.
All right, let's see. So I'm doing it on the laptop today, so it's a little bit different today. Um, see how this works out. Different internet. Oh, okay, we got it. Thanks. Okay. Yes. See? There. Yay.
Okay.
Okay. We're just checking other devices to show us that we are
Be
live.
sure we're on.
Yep.
We're on.
As on as we can be on a Saturday morning.
You can see our sunny backyard.
Yes.
Here at the farm.
Good morning. Good morning. Welcome to Herbal Self Care Saturday. So, we are in the middle. We're just past the middle of spring. May Day was May 1st, of course, the beginning of the month, and that marks the halfway point of spring on our way towards summer. Yay! So, I don't know. Sometimes in May, things start getting going a little bit more. We are changing our diet a little bit. We had winter squash last night for dinner, which was delicious. But I said to Mom, I was like, oh, it's not quite winter squash season anymore, but we have one more big, is it a banana? Banana squash. Those are one of her favorites. So we're trying to finish that last squash off.
Looking forward to zucchini.
Yeah. So
isn't that strange to look forward to zucchini?
For
Anyway.
a little while, then we'll be tired of it again. So yeah, thinking of things like that I don't know about anybody else, but we're a little behind on our garden for what we normally would like to be. But we are starting to plant things. We're going to do some potatoes and stuff like that. So starting to plant greens and thinking of those kinds of things, cooking out on a barbecue and salads and stuff rather than winter squash. And so I thought we would do something that was food related because I really like food. Everybody in our family really likes food.
As we eat it every day.
Yeah, it's a necessary thing. And so we like it to be good. That's the other thing. We like things, doesn't mean fancy, it just means good. And so one of the ways that we make our food good is to make vinegars. So that's what we're going to talk about today. So very simple, very easy. We were just laughing because Mom said she thought she had some red wine vinegar hiding in the back of the pantry, which tells you how often we would use that. So the main two types of vinegar we have are just plain distilled white, which we were chatting about last night. It's hard to find organic distilled white vinegar. So sometimes that's why people will use white wine vinegar instead, because it is much easier to find that organic. And that's usually what I prefer. And then we have some apple cider vinegar too. And so we have great big jugs of the organic apple cider that does have a stronger flavor. So, and then there's the big white distilled. We use that for cleaning, and you could use it for hair rinses or things like that, which we'll get to that in a little bit later, but we're going to focus on the culinary first. So I usually prefer to use apple cider, but if you want to get color from some of the herbs we're going to talk about today, then if you want organic, then white wine, or I did just a white distilled. So now is a great time to go out and just walk the herb garden. That's exactly what Mom did this morning, and she made this nice bowl. We'll hold them up so you can see them. I know the lighting is a little. So the one that I made yesterday, Mom kindly got some of these for us, were some chive flowers. And so that's the vinegar that I made yesterday. So see that nice purple color? So those are still floating. The flowers are still floating. I just cut the flower heads off. Still figuring out this using the laptop. I just cut them off right here. And I actually just used my fingernails to pinch them off. I don't always take clippers out to the garden with me. Mom usually does, but I'll just use my fingernails a lot of times and pinch them off. And so that's what I did. I just pinched off like a handful of flowers. I used this nice little small jelly jar. We have quite a few of those. And I would say probably in less than an hour, couple hours. Maybe it was after dinner. I went to go check them, and it had already turned this really beautiful purple color. It turns really pretty fast, and I don't have smell-o-vision. Can you smell it?
Ooh, I can even I can smell
It's
it.
very oniony. So, on that note, a lot of times people will want to know how long do you let the vinegar infuse? And I would say for chive flowers, that's one of the cool things about chive flowers is that you can do it for a very short time frame. It's a very quick, like you could go out in the afternoon, harvest the flowers, set up your vinegar, and then it will be ready for dinner time.
Right.
Or you could do it in the morning if you want something a little bit stronger flavored and brighter colored, and it will be ready to go that way. So just trying to make sure. I'm not seeing any comments yet. So if people are making comments, um, I can't see them in this way. Oh, I can see. Okay. So I'm telling you, I'm still just figuring this out on the laptop. So probably right there. That will show up.
Okay.
So chive flowers are really great. You could put some chive leaves in with it too, but I like the flowers because they change color and it's really pretty.
It gives the same flavor. So.
And you could even, if you didn't want to make vinegar, you could pluck these apart, and they can go like in eggs or salads. Yep, things like that. So, all right. What else do we got this morning that you harvested?
Well, I have. We talked about that. There's red or white vinegars, and the white vinegar is probably best for what we might call less sturdy herbs, things like marjoram or lemon balm or the basils, all the different basils.
No smell-o-vision again. Sorry, friends.
And even tarragon.
I think tarragon's one of those ones that could go
Either way.
either or, yeah.
And so white vinegars work best for those. Whereas more sturdy, what we would consider sturdy, probably you think of them as having stems. There's rosemary and
Oh, there you go.
sage. And if you left the flowers
there we go.
on the sage, it would also make a nice lavender color.
It will turn it colors as well.
Well, so if you're looking to have color vinegar, sage flowers and borage, if you wanted something that was kind of bluish, you could use borage flowers. And of course, borage has kind of that cucumber flavor, so you would have a kind of a cucumber flavor vinegar to put in your dressings or your marinades.
And I would say too, the other thing, like when we're talking about sturdy herbs, like rosemary has a really pretty strong flavor. Winter savory is another one that has a pretty strong flavor. So those are sturdy and they also have a strong flavor, and so they will be able to match the strong flavor of red wine vinegar really pretty well. So you won't lose the flavor of the herbs with the flavor of the vinegar, because that red wine vinegar is really pretty strong. Another thing is about using fresh versus dried herbs, and I think either or works. You can certainly dry your herbs. I did grab some dried herbs. So we have some dried tarragon. This could work really well. Oftentimes, if you're going to do dried herbs, then it's okay to use heated vinegar for that, because it's going to help sort of reconstitute a little bit the dried herbs, just as if you were making tea, and then it will also help release the oils that are sort of locked in the dried flowers or dried leaves. So if you're going to do fresh, then you can do heated with some of these sturdy herbs. So that would probably be like rosemary, thyme, savory, sage, and you could use heated vinegar. Don't heat it up above about 180, 190.
Don't boil.
Yeah, don't boil it. Just like a nice low simmer to heat it up, and then that will help release some of the oils and things like that from these sturdier herbs if they're fresh, or from any herbs if they're dry. Hopefully that makes sense.
So how do you actually make the vinegar? We've been talking about the herbs and hot versus room temperature. So how do you actually make the vinegar? You, we use, glass jars. So you want to start out with something like that, uh, or a pint jar, something glass, probably, even if you started with a bowl,
Mm-hmm.
and a cup of vinegar, 4 tablespoons of fresh herbs. So you would take the tarragon or whatever, chop up the leaves, and uh, or a tablespoon of dried herbs. Remember, it always takes more fresh herbs than dried herbs for whatever you're doing. And you would put those down in the jar and then cover it with the 1 cup of vinegar. If you're going to use a heated vinegar, you would do the same thing: heat up the vinegar and then pour it over the herbs. Um, as we discovered with the chives, often it's recommended to let sit 3 to 5 days in a warm, sunny place, or 8 to 10 days in a cupboard. But I think you have to be checking it fairly regularly. And you can't check it just by smelling, because it'll probably smell, for the most part, like vinegar. So you want to taste it. And you can do that with a little piece of bread dipped into the vinegar, and then that will give you the flavor. So you just, and it's your taste too. Maybe you don't want it to taste really strong, so after 3 days you're done. Or you want it to be, maybe you've put in a couple of herbs and you want it to be stronger, so you might leave it for a week or so. Um, and as we found out with the chives, just in a few hours is all you need.
So, as much as we don't love to always say that, it is true. It really depends on the herb. Um, and your flavor preference, I guess, as well. And then it also depends on the purpose, like what you're going to use the vinegar for. If you're going to use it for a marinade that you're going to end up cooking it off, kind of, then you might want to let it sit for longer and have stronger flavors. If you're going to use it for a salad dressing, whether that's a pasta salad or a green salad or veggie salad, maybe you don't want it to be super oniony. I suspect at this point, having left this overnight, it's probably really pretty strong. And you could
Okay.
always cut this as well with some fresh vinegar, or like dilute it, or you could even use some water. Which, thinking of dilution, that's another thing. I'll be honest and say I did not wash these chive flowers last night. So that's not like the best way to do it. And you may have to, if you do that, then you may have to run it through a coffee filter, not just a regular strainer. But what you really should do, like mom harvested this really nice lemon balm this morning, and you would want to go and wash all of this, rinse everything off really good, make sure you've got all the bugs off and all of that kind of stuff.
Dust, yep.
Yeah, any dust or things like that, and then you want to pat it dry. And part of the reason you want to pat it dry is because you don't want that water getting into your vinegar. It will dilute your vinegar just a little bit, and you want to try to make sure that it's as strong as possible, not just for flavor or for other uses if that's going to be the outcome, but also just for food safety purposes. You want to make sure there's not water in there because it can introduce bacteria or other things like that. So make sure you pat them dry really good that way. So let's see, was there anything else? We didn't even talk about basils. We don't have basil right now, so if you don't either, then that would be like a dried. You could do dill. Um, you can do garlic, but garlic it'll get a really strong flavor like the chive flower. So that one you should pull the garlic cloves out after just like a day or two, depending on your flavor preference, and then leave the rest of the herbs in there to keep infusing. So if you do a mix of garlic with herbs, then I would recommend pulling those cloves out. And so you want to probably keep them whole so that they're easier to pluck out, as opposed to chopping them up. Which mom kind of mentioned, that's another thing. I could take this entire lemon balm and just stuff it in this jar like this, whole sprigs and everything. But if you chop it up instead, it's going to create more surface area for the herbs and the vinegar to get in contact. And so you'll get more of the oils and the good stuff that makes it tasty or useful for medicinal or beauty products, that way. So you'll get more of the oils and things like that out if you chop it up. Let's see. Were there? I guess if anybody has any questions, go for it and ask. Um, so you can use them for marinades, you can use them for salad dressings. That's a really loud airplane. Maybe I'll wait just a second till they finish flying.
And I would make a marinade just like always. You just, if you're making something to put over your chicken to grill, maybe you've made some nice sage lovage vinegar, and you would add that to um, just whatever, some olive oil, and maybe a, a I don't know. I wouldn't put mustard because to me that would dilute the nice taste of the sage and the lovage. But um, and then you would just brush that over your chicken before you got ready to barbecue it.
You could put mustard in it for like a dressing.
You could,
Yeah?
yeah, yeah.
Like for pasta and
Mhm.
veggies or something like that.
Right. Yeah.
So the other thing too is we've really focused this morning on herbs for culinary use, but you can make herbal vinegars for other uses as well. Mom always tells a story about using vinegar as a hair rinse when she was younger. So
We did. We didn't have hair conditioners, and so we would wash our hair and then take a little bit, just vinegar straight. We didn't know about herbs then. And so, and rinse our hair. Vinegar by itself, and if you've seen any of the advertisements that pop up on your computer about vinegar being the cure all for just about everything, you know that vinegar is also used for beauty products, and it makes your hair soft. Of course, you'd want to rinse it out. Otherwise, I don't know. No one ever teased me about the smell of my hair when I went to school, so I guess I got it rinsed out good enough.
did you rinse it? You didn't leave it?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So I have incredibly thick hair, and I have never been able to get vinegar to work really well. This smell seems to linger. I don't know, just because it's so hard to get it to rinse out. And I know some people leave it in, and I think you can do that if you have short hair and you're just going to hang around the house, and the sun will actually help, dissipate that. So if you're going to go outside and work in the yard, that can work really well. But I've never been a vinegar in the hair girl because there's too much of it, too much hair to get it to rinse out. So rosemary and sage work really well for darker colored hair. Oh, here it is. Chamomile. So this is German chamomile. You could use Roman for this as well. Because especially Roman would be useful because it's not one that I like to drink. It's too strong. So you could make a vinegar hair rinse for this, or you could use it as like a spritz, like a face spritz, and help with skin and stuff like that. So there's all different kinds of so sage, Roman chamomile, rosemary. You could use calendula. Calendula is really good, especially if you have it's like oily but then dry scalp as well. And rosemary can be really good for that. You could put some borage, lavender, mints. Lemon balm is really nice as well. So there's a lot of different herbs that you could end up making vinegars for, and you could use them not just for your food, but for your body, your hair, things like that as well. And then the other very last way is that this making an infused vinegar is the first step in making an oxymel. And that's where you actually add vinegar and honey. So if anybody's familiar with fire cider, that's essentially this fire cider is an infused vinegar. And that has, I've put lemon in mine, thyme, calendula, sage, all kinds of things. Um, yeah, I put all kinds of things in that and just fill up a big quart jar. And my husband, in particular, really likes to take a shot of the fire cider when he's feeling like cold and things are all like his sinuses are clogged and stuff like that. He has a really bad cold. He'll take some shots of that throughout the day, and he really likes that because it has like horseradish and ginger and spicy jalapenos. It's really hot. And so what some people do with that is they'll actually add honey to that to help make it smooth it out just a little bit. And you can make the same type of thing using bee balm, for example. You could make an infused vinegar of bee balm, and you could put some thyme or something else like that in that for like sore throats and coughs and colds. You could add some sage, and then you could mix some honey in there, and then you can end up having something that you can take. You could put it in hot water, almost like a tea, and both vinegar and the honey, along with the herbs, are really good for sore throats and things like that. So You can always just make your infused vinegars as a way to start, and then it's very easy to leap off from those basic infused vinegars to make all other kinds of different things.
Typically, if you're going to use vinegars for uh, beauty or bath products or even household use, it should probably be stronger. So
You mean your ratio
the
of herbs to vinegar?
well, and how long you leave it to infuse so that it becomes stronger, has more flavorful. So uh, it would not be quite the same as what you would use for culinaries. You could start some rosemary and take 8 ounces off and use that for in the kitchen, and then leave the rest to clean the house and scrub the counters.
Yeah, we didn't even talk about that,
No,
about
no,
household uses. We didn't
right,
even get there.
no, because I have used rosemary in the hand sanitizer that we
Mm-hmm.
have used the last year, and that also was a vinegar, alcohol, rosemary, and some other herbs. So there's vinegar again out there doing its job.
And
And
I, oh,
herbs,
go ahead.
always the herbs.
Always herbs. The other thing I was going to say to you that I remember mom and I were chatting about yesterday as we were getting ready for this was that you don't have to make big quantities. Don't feel like because you'll see pictures online from recipes or things like that they have these big quart jars. If you're new to this and you haven't tried it before and you're not quite sure, and maybe like me you're not a huge fan of vinegar but you do like vinaigrette type dressings, just make a little small jar. We were laughing about like salsa jar, empty salsa jars. It doesn't have to be a canning jar or anything like that. Just any little small jar that you have. Just make something really small. It doesn't have to be big. So don't feel like when you see those pictures online and they have all these herbs and these big jars and stuff, you don't have to do that. Just start really small, and that way then you can experiment. And if you don't like it, it's not a big deal and you just put it in the compost. So start small. Even these like 12-ounce jars can be really good if you know that you like, say, tarragon or rose. Tarragon. It's not my herb, it's her herb. Those kind of infused vinegars, you can make slightly larger batches. And that way, then, if you know you're going to like it, you can experiment by adding more herbs or trying different mixtures of herbs or things like that. So,
And as we have the opportunity to do more things this summer, possibly go to barbecues or whatever, a small thing of vinegar might be a nice hostess gift
mm-hmm.
that people could actually use it then. Is their barbecue. So,
Yes. So get out there, get in your garden, get some vinegar, get some mixing, and have some fun. All right, bye everyone.
bye. Bye, Walla Walla.